Welcome back to the Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday. My name is GoodGameBro, the guy that most of you are leaving 5-star ratings for in this podcast, and I wholeheartedly appreciate that. And there's a gentleman over there with a kind of a scraggly beard. You know, it's kind of coming in. You know, I see a patch or two of gray over there, but that person is my great co-host Mills. Mills, how are you?
We refer to that gray as experience. GGB.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming in. It's all right. We gotta straighten some of the lines up. It's getting a little gangly down the bottom, but what a great week. I mean, we had MLB All-Star events going on. The Olympics have started in terms of like their not really started, but like we're
Team
seeing
USA
some
kind of
we'll talk about that. Don't worry. We just had the Stanley Cup's over. The NBA Finals are getting very close, and it's way more competitive than some of us thought it was going to be when we saw some of the injuries coming in. And we're finally getting into sports gaming, the second coming of sports gaming season. When it comes to sports gaming, it's normally like that March kind of like May window, and then like August to October. So we're starting to see a lot of hype, a lot of startup with the normal sports release schedule. So excited for that. It's been a kind of awesome couple of weeks, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting that news. It's starting to trickle in. You know, you can feel the air changing a little bit. It's super crazy out there. I'm just hyped. You know, the fact that we're, a little bit out now from having the major sports releases and, hopefully more next-gen systems are going to be available for people. I saw PS5s were in stock today or yesterday for those of you that are, listening to the podcast now. So I'm optimistic that we'll start seeing some things, trend in the right way, at least in the sports gaming world. And then you've got big releases like the Halo Infinites of the world. Okay.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
I'm seeing a lot of Warzone creators really start to look forward to like Halo and Battlefield coming out because of the Warzone, the hacking that's happening. Did you see just real quick? I mean, I know you're a huge Warzone creator. I mean, like for me, I'm kind of a casual. Did you see the 2 computer hack that's happening now? I saw Timmy Darkness 429 tweet about it. There is literally, it's a second computer that runs the hack, so you can't detect it on your game computer. It's insane. It's literally insane. CNN Gaming was putting up putting up a story on it. Like I said, Timmy retweeted. I read it. Why we're going so far to cheat in video games these days that we're trying to get undetectable on a second system?
People are so trash, man.
Activision has enough problem like detecting on one system. They don't have their anti-cheat in place as it is now. Now they're gonna worry about a second system. I think this is a really big problem for Warzone coming up too. I think it's one of those small bubbles that's starting to expand more and more as it gets more and more creators put their eyes on it and their viewership sees it. Do you think? I mean, it might explode at some point.
I think it's a Warzone problem right now, but I think it can very well be a Battlefield problem and Halo problem very soon. You're noticing we're not mentioning Fortnite because Fortnite did the right thing and they had an anti-cheat. Fortnite had a cheating problem for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, you could say, during their early days. And they very quickly got ahead of it, squashed it, and were very adamant about like, we're having an anti-cheat, you're not having this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like that was a major reason for their success, right? Warzone is in an interesting spot where like they're doing not an anti-cheat. I'm assuming because an anti-cheat is super expensive, but they're going the route of like cease and desist letters. They shut down a major console hack that just emerged over the last few months. They just put the kibosh on them and they're not going to sell it anymore.
Yep.
Most cheats though are open source, which means they're probably going to find their way in the market from someone else. It's just a never ending thing. Just invest in an anti-cheat. Yes, it's expensive. Yep. Yes, it's going to be, a hit to your bottom line. But what is it going to do? It's going to keep more people playing your game and being happy over a longer period of time. Because if not, Battlefield hopefully can do something, or Halo can do something. Much as I love Warzone, I hate hackers more.
Yeah. And it's weird because now we're starting to see it leak into other games as well. NBA 2K had the Cronus Zen at one point, which is actually didn't hit MLB as hard as I thought it was going to. The Cronus Zen, for those who don't know, is a controller. It's a modifier where you can plug your controller into it and then plug it into the system. And it actually programs button presses. So for like pinpoint pitching at MLB, you can program the different pitches you want it to run. In NBA, one of the things that it was used for is the new shot stick. The new shot stick, you could actually program where it was going to be because the shot stick was timed. It's going to be interesting to see in this upcoming season as it is now, like how different developers deal with how cheats are evolving. Like at this point on PC, you put an anti-cheat in there, it works. On console, it's a little more tricky because how do you know somebody's just not that good with the stick or just not that good with their thumb skills? It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be very interesting to see how developers not only deal with it as a cheat, but update their mechanics to make it so that way you can't have a programmable feature.
Yep.
For those of us that are so worried about like RNG and competitive, RNG might be the thing that combats these cheaters. It might be that thing where you have to have a reactionary mechanic instead of a muscle memory mechanic, something like that. So,
yep, amen. If you cheat, you're trash, and I dislike you very much. Just want you to know that if you're listening.
There apparently is a ton of you out there.
Yep.
But talking about evolving, let's talk about some sports games. There was a lot of news coming out this week. FIFA 22 is starting their hype train up. It's starting off with them announcing, and when we say new engine, a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is what it's needed forever. They've announced the new HyperMotion engine. And what this does, and the thing that really stood out to me, it combines advanced 11x11 match capture and like proprietary machine learning. And it allows animations to be added in gameplay, not pre-programmed animations. They can actually form animations as the game plays out. This is good and scary at the same time. New engines don't just come along, okay? And even the word engine in and of itself is kind of like an industry buzz term for wanting updated mechanics. To hear that this can update on the fly as the game is going on, it's extremely exciting for somebody who likes offline play. And I think it should be exciting for everybody that likes offline play. Seeing that it affects the AI mainly, especially like the attacking AI, the defending AI. It says air battles, ball control, and then the other thing part of this that stands off is player humanization. Again, the more human you can make AI players, the more interesting offline or verse CPU play is. The scary part is when you institute something this large, and we're still on the second half of like a pandemic development schedule. Does it work? And I know that's kind of thinking the negative side of this, like really concentrating on where the negative side of this lies. But it scares me because every time they put something huge in the game, there's always more tuning to be done after the game. They look at games as not big releases. They look at them as live content, things they can update as games go on. Game industry is like that now. What do you think about the whole FIFA 22, the HyperMotion? Let's talk about the engine itself and what it may bring to FIFA upcoming in FIFA 22.
To be perfectly honest, when I watched the trailer, I had no idea what they were selling me on. Like I saw a bunch of dudes in suits and I saw some cool camera angles, but when I was trying to figure out what does this actually mean, I walked away really not knowing. So I dove in the blog, picked up some information, even learned some tidbits from you just now in terms of like what it's sort of bringing to the table.
Yeah.
I have similar fears. Whenever you hear a new engine, I'm a little scared. If you think about FIFA, the last decade, we had whatever their original engine was. I think we had the Ignite engine. And then I think we had Frostbite briefly.
Right.
And then now we have HyperMotion. So you can say that is progress, that's innovation. You can also say that's, a failure in some areas, because I think we saw with both Ignite and Frostbite, not really the move for sports games at that point. We've heard shared technology and different things. I want FIFA to be good. And I think my biggest issue with FIFA in general has just been like movement. Like players have always moved like super robotic. I know Madden players complain about Madden movement all the time. I think FIFA has had some of the worst movement in my opinion. Like they don't run, in my opinion, like what real players, when I watch soccer, the rare times that I do, look like they're moving. Part of that may be camera angle or some other things, I'm not sure. But I'm excited. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think with anything with an engine. And then when you bring into your point the pandemic as well, like that makes me even more cautiously optimistic. So I wish him the best. I'm excited to see some true gameplay. But yeah, the trailer to me was just like I don't know what's happening right now. Maybe I'm old.
I think trailers in general, and I saw this pop up on social media this past week, how like trailers that are dropped, they're not focused on the right things. They're focused on being this menage of just, yeah, this is all our new tech. This is what it looks like. Hey, this is in gameplay footage, when it's not really in gameplay footage. It might be an engine footage, but come on, you customize cameras to get better angles. It's the Spider-Man things. If you ever saw the behind the scenes on the Spider-Man PlayStation game, how they made everything look so great by literally cutting off all but 30 degrees of what you're looking at. They said if you ever looked behind you, it would be complete garbage. And that's how they were able to up things. They do that in these trailers all the time. What gets me is you said something about motion and like what you see on TV. I think one of the biggest tests for sports games, when you put them on CPU versus CPU, I don't know, not everyone does this. I'm not saying you should, but I think if a game looks realistic, CPU versus CPU on a TV broadcast angle, I think that only makes the game better once you start putting user inputs into it. True. I believe that the game has to look realistic CPU versus CPU before you can start doing user interaction and screwing it up, right? I think NBA 2K does that fantastically now, especially next gen. What they've done with foot planning, what they've done with their dribble skills, what they've done with defense. If you watch a CPU versus CPU game on a broadcast camera angle, I think they do a fantastic job of making it look like you could walk by it and go, wait, that's the test. If one of your parents walks by and goes, what game is that? Like what game is on TV? Why I didn't know basketball was going right now. Or I think MLB The Show does this very well when you're talking about a baseball game on TV and what it looks like. I think Madden Next Gen has taken steps towards that. There's still a lot wrong with it in terms of what you can see if you're not watching right at the ball carrier. It kind of loses its immersion. I think FIFA's had the most problems with this in terms of watching where CPU plays. I think 11 players on the field, all having to worry about one consistent flow back and forth. I think that's the most tough. It is the most tough game in sports gaming to have to worry about that. I think it and NHL both have that issue. The one thing I will say this, it says ML Flow learning, and again, this is going to be BuzzFeed. I'm reading this. Apologies. Learning from more than 8.7 million frames from advanced 11x11 match capture. The ML Flow machine learning is what ML stands for, by the way, algorithm writes new animations in real time. This is in addition to the 4,000 animations they're selling as being in game now. It says enabling players to better adjust their stride and running cadence on approach to the ball or control. So giving you more control over the player with and without the ball. I wonder, first of all, if the machine learning is just your console or if they're sharing information throughout all consoles. Because I don't remember this. Do you remember folding on PlayStation? Yeah. When so I believe it was cancer research. And they said, if you run your PlayStation, it's essentially everybody machine learning different cancer research, and you're helping out. Different kind of different application, but I would like to see that machine learning. I hope it all goes back to a central server, and then that way everybody that's playing is allowing the game to learn more and more about what works and what doesn't. The last thing that excites me, the last point of this is FIFA's always the first. Whenever we see something new in EA from EA Sports, FIFA's always the first one that gets it. Then we start seeing it in Madden. So seeing this HyperMotion engine, don't be surprised if with the next gen update that they've done to the movement, if that was their first step into moving into this HyperMotion engine for Madden, and then we would start seeing it in their other games. I'm almost guaranteeing that if they're making a college sport, well, they are making a college sports football game. They're making this college sports football game is going to be on HyperMotion, and that's why it's taking them a couple of years to get out. And then NHL will get it. We'll start seeing it feed through the EA Sports. That excites me even more, because if this works for FIFA, I can only imagine what it can do for Madden and some of their canned animations really being stretched out a little bit better.
Agreed.
So some more news this week. We have the NBA 2K22 cover athletes were announced. GGB was keeping it from us. He knew all along. Uh,
I mean,
so
yeah.
it's going to be another group, depending on what version you have. It's going to have Luka Doncic, who 2K has really taken an attachment to in terms of their My Team content. Is a lot of it's been based around Luka Doncic, and I think that's a good thing. Luka Doncic is an absolute superstar that's coming into his own. Didn't have a great playoffs, but after an injury, but it is what it is. But they're not just done there. It's Luka. There's a group cover, correct me if I'm wrong, with Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep.
3 massive icons, legends. And then the biggest one of all of these is, for the first time in 2K's history, we're going to get a female cover athlete on, and again, this is the GameStop edition, right? Is going to be Candace Parker of the Sky, of the WNBA Sky. And I can't think of anyone better. There are names, but when you think of women's basketball right now, Candace Parker is the first name that pops up. This is massive. Now we know NBA 2K has added the WNBA 2 seasons ago. Then they added a WNBA season mode in terms of almost trying to match it feature for feature with the My NBA. What does this mean for sports gaming?
I mean, genuinely, I love it. I think something I'd love to point out too is when you look at the covers of these games, it's one of the few times for sports games, I'll say probably maybe ever, that I've seen a cover of a sports game that I was like, yo, I would love to have that as a poster in my office or in my basement or like wherever. Like, these are beautiful covers. And so to point out, I had to verify I was getting the name correctly. So Charlie Palmer, you might remember, she did it in the America Must Change project that was on the Time magazine cover, this beautiful pastel artwork that she had done. She's the artist behind these. And so like you look at the Luka cover, you look at the triple cover with Kareem, Dirk, and Kevin Durant. It's genuinely like, these are fantastic artworks. I think if you're like a basketball fan, you're looking at these and you're like, these are fantastic. And again, to echo your point, like I love that Candace Parker is the first female to sort of represent this for the WNBA side. Candace Parker has the legacy. It's the right time. The only person you probably could have looked at is probably like a Diana Taurasi, but I think with Candace Parker, she moved, she's going back home. She's in Chicago. She's obviously a lot more out there, right? Like Taurasi's a little bit more reserved in terms of like how much she's out in the media and stuff, where Candace Parker is on, TNT in the off season, and she killed it there. She was phenomenal there. She's definitely going to have, a spot in the limelight wherever she chooses to be. I think she's an incredible ambassador for that. So I love seeing what we've done with the cover this year.
Yeah, I think and the cover, how much it pops, how much like the colors on it. There's like red, yellow, blue. Like it's not like a reserved white cover or a black cover. It's like you said, it is artwork. It's no longer a cover, it's artwork. And that's one thing I will give 2K a ton of credit for, especially through their My Team mode. Their My Team card art is one of the things players can be very critical of. I still remember back to, I think it was season 5 was the superhero season where they actually put out a superhero. I used it as my phone background for the longest time. It looked like a comic book cover with all the different superhero versions of the cards on it together. 2K gets it. 2K understands in terms of their fan base. They tend to be a little bit more on the pulse of their fan base, it feels like, than a lot of the other companies do. I think a lot of the other companies are always one step behind. 2K always seems to be one step ahead of what their fans want. So again, all 4 it looks like it's going to be 4 different covers, because there's going to be the base cover with Luka shooting in a home jersey. They've got the cross-gen digital bundle with Luka in the dark Mavs jerseys. They've got the legendary. I don't think it's called legendary. It's the one with Kareem.
75th edition. Yeah.
Okay, the 75th edition with Dirk, Kareem, and KD. KD's going to buy this on about 4 different Twitter accounts. And then you got the Candace Parker, the GameStop edition, which removes the red. Interestingly enough, removes the red for like this beautiful gold and sky blue background. And again, kind of cool to see, like the Luka has the red and the blue, the Candace has the yellow and the blue, and then the legendary kind of puts everything together for a background. It means a lot that there's a lot of thought process going into something like that. So
there's also cool. One more. There's one more. It's kind of like I don't think it's been revealed officially. They've announced it, but they haven't actually shown the imagery of it, if I remember correctly. But Rui Hachimura is going to have the exclusive Japan version
Oh,
of the Russian
really?
Wizard. So that's the other one they're doing. So you're like Pokemon and got to collect them all, there will be that one as well.
Leaking information on the podcast.
That is public information. I verified before I said that.
2K's GGB leaking information on the podcast. Love it. Love it. For quick, let's go one more quick hit sports gaming before we get into some sports talk. MLB The Show, along with the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, had a massive content drop. It started on Friday with what was called Team Affinity 3. They have a Team Affinity every like couple of months where every team gets one representative. It's a grind in terms of doing like showdowns or doing conquest maps or doing a certain amount of stats and everything. That's 30 players right off the bat. Okay. That's 30 players that they drop into the game at once. You can grind it at your leisure. Then for the Home Run Derby, they release 8 more cards. And not only do they release 8 more cards of the Home Run Derby, they release it at 2 a.m. Eastern time, right after the Home Run Derby. And let me tell you, I looked at the numbers on Twitch just to see the viewership. The viewership was like 7 p.m. numbers at 2 a.m. on Twitch. Waiting for these cards. Beautiful card art. They actually, it's again, we talk about card art. The Team Affinities were blue for the National League, red for the American League, and it was like a mountain, because it was at Coors Field with the player sitting above it. The Home Run Derby were purple with the same outline. They had Pete Alonso holding his trophy and all the 8 players from the Derby in Derby swing shots. Because I don't know if you know this, they were paying homage to Hank Aaron for the Home Run Derby. So they were all wearing 44 as their number on their jerseys. So every one of these card arts had them in their 44 jerseys, either swinging during the Home Run Derby or holding up a trophy at the end of it. Unbelievable the amount of work that goes into that. Yeah, and that's exactly what live content is. They're not done. They came back for the All-Star game the next night, another 2 a.m. content drop with 6 more cards that were white in the background, same outline. Again, all 6 of these players have their All-Star like jerseys on, action shots. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who was the 99 MVP, is kissing the MVP bat, the All-Star MVP bat, in another beautiful card art. Then, to add on top of that, if you collected the 30 Team Affinities, you get a 1997 Legend Ryan Sandberg Home Run Derby card. You get it's 97 overall, not a 1997, 97 overall. You get a 99 overall Prince Fielder Home Run Derby card.
Oh my God.
Then if you collect you ready for this? Out of the 50 cards that were released, including those 2, and a Jonas Cespedes for the event, and a Jock Peterson that was released, then if you collect 46 of them, you get a Shohei Ohtani 99 overall pitcher card that has maxed out power hitting stats.
Sheesh.
He's one of the best hitting cards in the game, and he's a starting pitcher. Can I just tell you, we give Ultimate Team card collecting modes a lot of crap for being, taking their cash grabs or whatever it is. But when you talk about live content and understanding these teams were up until their West Coast, so 11 o'clock at night, and then later than that to make sure everything goes up on San Diego's side. I've seen 2K teams working overnights to fix their stuff. I know I've been there when Madden teams had to go back into the office to fix something overnight at like 2 a.m. I've been out with the Madden team for an event, like just hanging out at that night when they've gotten called back to the office to fix live content. As much as we love live content, to see literally 51 cards in a 5-day span, less than 5-day span, it's just one of those things that makes you happy to be a gamer and makes you really understand how hard these developers are working. And it went flawlessly. It blows my mind. So props out to the San Diego Studios community. The community was really good about it too. The community was awesome this past couple of days. But to the developers who put all that stuff out, and Diamond Dynasty is just fun right now, they literally refreshed the entire market. The market's down, so if you're just getting into if you're just buying it for the All-Star game, you can get a good, a 95, 96 overall team for very cheap. Plus, you get all these Team Affinity cards around that area. It blows my mind how they're able to refresh the entire game mode over 1 5-day period, which is exactly what they did. My lineup is completely different. My lineup, I have 26 players in my lineup. All 26 players are different over a 5-day
That's
period.
unreal.
And Sony's not the only one who does this. My team does this with new seasons sometimes. Like I said, Madden does this with huge drops like around Thanksgiving. It just blows my mind the ability they have to get all of this stuff up as quickly as they do. So as much as I would love to see franchise upgrades, Sony, I'm not letting that go. I'm not letting that go, SDS. As much as I want to see the franchise upgrades, props out to them for having a live content team that just grinded overnight to make this happen.
Absolutely. Hats off.
I guess it's a good time as any to move into some sports talk with the Home Run Derby. Congratulations to Pete Alonso, back-to-back Home Run Derby winner. He won it 2019 in Cleveland. I was there to watch him and Vlad Guerrero go stroke for stroke, which was amazing. I thought that would have been the best Home Run Derby I've ever seen. I was at the Home Run Derby when Griffey hit the warehouse in '93 in Baltimore. I thought that was going to be the best. When I went to Cleveland, I thought that was going to be the best. This Home Run Derby we just had at Coors Field, where Pete Alonso was just peppering left field. Trey Mancini got to the finals after beating cancer in one of the best stories in baseball. He was peppering balls all right field, left field, didn't matter where it was. Shohei Ohtani, the face of Major League Baseball, was in there, got eliminated in the first round. But even then, just to see him there, it's just such a great event. And there were more first round home runs, I think it was 309, than there has been in Home Run Derby history. And more just close matches in the first round, second round. It reminded me why the Home Run Derby is the best all-star event in sports. It's better than the slam. I used to think it was the slam dunk contest of the NBA, but now no one goes to the slam dunk contest, right?
I mean, that's the point, right? Like, I think the slam dunk contest should be the best, but it's not, because people don't want to go to it for a variety of reasons. I get it, right? You're tired. There's injury risk. There's like all the planning that goes into it. Yada, yada. I totally get it. My only issue with the Home Run Derby is that I didn't watch all of it, but the parts that I did watch, my brain physically couldn't figure out where to focus my eyes with that like weird like third camera angle, like the third panel, and then like the crowd. Like I was like, it was like system overload. But like seeing that many home runs go out is incredible. I mean, Ohtani and Juan Soto, and then obviously Pete Alonso doing the one thing that he knows how to do, which is win home run derbies and sort of, you know, maybe struggle outside of that. It's incredible. And I think you think about like growing a sport, right? Baseball, we have both been incredibly critical of that sport because for a lot of different areas, we disagree, or we don't really agree with them on sort of how they are trying to grow the sport in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about like being a kid and your memories, right? You may have like, if you go to a game, maybe you have a regular season memory, but a lot of the memories you have when you're a kid are like the iconic moments that are sort of like in a silo, like Griffey making the catch at the wall, like running up the wall and like getting that. Like for me, that stands out. Or like Griffey when he ran in and like scored when his dad was still on the team or whatever. But you think about like playoff moments, you think about all-star games, home run derbies for baseball, things like that. And to see some of the biggest names out there, right? Vlad Guerrero Jr., all those guys as well. Like seeing all those guys out there doing that contest and putting on a heck of a show, it made me for a second say like they should just hold it in Colorado every year. But obviously you want to give it to other cities, but part of me is like,
tweeted that. I tweeted that because I mean, the ball flies there. The ball absolutely missiles there.
It's unreal.
And for me, you talk about those moments. For me, that moment was seeing Ohtani not only lead off the home run derby, but then the next night come out. He led off for the American League roster hitting, and then the bottom of the inning came out and had a scoreless inning pitching. We're legitimately seeing the next coming of Babe Ruth.
But a nicer Babe Ruth, you know? Yeah,
a much nicer Babe Ruth, obviously. There is still a large part of me that believes Ohtani should be focusing more on being an outfielder in DH than pitching. I think you and I have had this conversation before where I'm seriously worried about his durability over multiple seasons of having to go back and forth. But at the same time, as a fan, man, I just want to see this dude just continue to wreck shop on both sides, which is exactly what this dude's doing. But apparently not everybody thinks he's the face of baseball that we do. And I hesitate to bring this up, but Stephen A. Smith says that Shohei Ohtani not being able to speak the language and having to have a translator is hurting baseball, with baseball pushing Shohei Ohtani as much as they are. How do you feel about Stephen A. Smith's comments that Shohei Ohtani, he is being pushed as the face right now, is hurting the game more than helping it?
I'm so annoyed by Stephen A. Smith. I understand where talking heads in sports are necessary for, casual highlight watching fans that need to be told like how to think, right? And so I understand the necessity for like a Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, who made his entire career of hating LeBron James, even Shannon Sharp at this point, Colin Cowherd, and many others. But that's why it's even more damaging when you have a talking head saying something like this that is absolutely terrible, right? Baseball is a sport that is comprised of, it's sort of like predominantly like Caucasians, and then you have Spanish speaking players from a variety of different countries as well. It's a low African American population. But you're now getting players from all over the world, right? We're getting a lot of players from Asia coming in, and we're getting fantastic players like Ohtani. We've had so many different pitchers before. We've had some great hitters as well. But saying that Ohtani not speaking the language or using an interpreter to sort of do that, it's damaging in so many different ways. I'm someone who tried to learn Spanish, right? And I could not do that. If I were gifted enough to play basketball professionally in like Spain, for example, if I had the opportunity, my first couple of seasons, or probably even for a decade, to use an interpreter, I'm 100% doing that. If you think about society in general, of like how easily something can be taken out of context, something could be said that can just be blown out of proportion and lead to you being canceled or whatever that may essentially be. For a new player coming in, it's easy for them to get tripped up or ask these different questions. Like, I am okay with Ohtani doing that. Ohtani with an interpreter has more personality than Mike Trout speaking the language natively. Right. I would much rather listen to an Ohtani interview with an interpreter than I would Mike Trout and his mayonnaise personality. Like, Stephen A. Smith, I don't know if he's put on an apology tour, because I think I have him muted or blocked. I don't even know if I remember at this point, but
he has. After he put out a written apology after doing a video double down.
Same thing we had with Myers Leonard, right? If you do the medium of which you make your mistake should be the bare minimum of how you put out your apology, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do your thing on live television, you should have a video-based response that at least can be there. I'd rather see it live, but if you can't do it live because the powers to be won't let you should have at least a video-based response.
Well, that was the thing. He put a video out. He put a video out that essentially doubled down that no one understood what he was talking about. Then after that was when the written apology came out. So needless to say, Steve, I mean, he's very good at his job. He got a lot of people talking about him, which is exactly what he wants. But at the same time, I don't even know, it's borderline racist. It feels racist to say something like that. It feels extremely racist to say something like that. And at the same time, like I said, you're talking about how the average age of baseball is the oldest of the sports. We've talked about that multiple times. Baseball's taking steps. Ohtani is one of those steps to grow the game nationwide. MLB had a little shade too, because when it came to the All-Star game, the MVP was born in Canada and grew up in the Dominican. Shohei Ohtani, the person who got the win, was Japanese, and Liam Hendricks, who got the save, was Australian. So they were like worldwide game. So there was a little shade on MLB's official account there too. Good for them, because that's what they're trying to grow it into, not only a younger game with guys like Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna, speedy recovery, sir, and guys like Shohei Ohtani, but also worldwide. They're trying to grow this because baseball is already big in Japan. Baseball's big in China. They want to grow. Baseball's big in the Dominican. They want to grow those roots further and further out, kind of like the NFL. Like the NFL tried to do. The NFL's failing at doing right now. So I think they're taking good steps. Some of those good steps, they're talking about new rules considerations. They're listening. where the 7-inning DH they instituted this year, they're considering rolling back. The extra innings runner rule, where the runner starts on second base in extra innings, they're considering rolling that back. They're considering banning the shift, which would end up with more offense. I don't know if I really like that, because that's like the NBA banning zone defense, which I don't.
Zone is for cowards, so just so you know.
Zone is for cowards. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's essential to allow NBA teams to make that decision on themselves. Because there are going to be teams that, like super teams. When you play a super team, one of the best ways to counter it is to make sure that they have to counter zone in like a 5 to 7% percentile for them have to face it. But also, you like universal DH. Universal DH is something we've talked about for years in terms of protecting your pitchers of the National League. The MLB is listening now, and to have some blowhard like Stephen A. Smith go off just to get clicks and views over Shohei Ohtani's natural language, and the fact he's bringing a translator. He's not bombing on interviews. He's not walking away, and he's funny, man. Like, even when he's making a joke, like, people laugh through the translator. He had his translator. His translator was his catcher in the All-Star Derby, by the way. In the home run derby. It was fantastic. You see this little scrawny guy behind the plate in like dress pants and a shirt in like a catcher's gear, like on his knees, holding the glove out. And I was like, that's freaking awesome. That's what the home run derby is supposed to be, having fun out there. And you know what? Screw you, Stephen A. Smith. Absolutely. Keep your mouth shut. Try to comment on basketball, which you say to be an expert in, where you say the same stupid hot takes. One of these is going to get in trouble. If something's in the water in Stanford, when Stanford's where it's at, right? No, Stanford's WWE. Where's
Bristol, Connecticut.
Bristol. Something's in the water up there between him and Susie Colbert and God knows who else making bad takes. So
all I'm saying is Ohtani is. I'm calling him. I'm like trademarking this. Ohtani is the single sport Bo Jackson, right? He's doing two different things, and he's doing both things at an incredibly high level. We don't know how long we're going to have this dude, right? From an injury, durability, whatever concern that is. Cherish this dude, support this dude, and watch him as much as we humanly can.
Quick fix. It wasn't Susie Colbert. It was Rachel Nichols. Apology. I want to make sure that I'm not slandering the wrong person. ESPN. It was Rachel Nichols that had the horrible take. So we don't need to bring that up. So. Stanley Cup champions have been crowned while we were gone. The Tampa Bay Lightning, congratulations to them, a 4-1 series victory. Not without controversy, though, because immediately after we saw members of the Tampa Bay Lightning with the cup in their parade wearing essentially gear that was being a little aggressive towards the fact that people were talking about them being a salary cap workaround. They were about $19 million over the salary cap when they won the Stanley Cup. And again, they got a bunch of loopholes to make that happen, but it's not like there aren't loopholes that other teams couldn't have pulled off at the same time. Let's say the NBA team does it, find some way to be $20 million over the salary cap.
I mean, they do every year with the luxury tax. So
exactly. That's exactly what happens. Like, there's no problem with this as long as it's legal, right? As long as they're essentially bending rules to win, right?
I view it as one of those things where if any team has the ability to do it, and it's all public knowledge, right? Like, these aren't hidden numbers. All these transactions are done publicly. What's fair is fair. The NBA, when we saw like, you look at a team like the Warriors, right? With what's his name, Joe Lacob, or I can't remember what the Warriors owner is, but like a dude with super deep pockets. You look at the Clippers, they got Steve Ballmer. Like, they haven't really dipped into luxury tax. Like, there are teams that have done it. The Cleveland Cavaliers went into luxury tax, and they are a small market team. Yes, they have Dan Gilbert, an owner that loves to write in Comic Sans, but like, they dipped into luxury tax. Like, teams can do this in sports, and I think a lot of times owners pull the rug over the general public all the time, right? And they will do the whole woe is me dance and, we're scrapping up the funds. Shut up. You're out here asking a city to pay for $1 billion stadium when you were worth $20 billion. Go ahead and fork some over if you want to have that. So you want to buy that team, you can pay for more for that stadium. But anyways, when you're dipping into things like luxury tax and teams are overspending, It doesn't guarantee a win. Maybe it increases their chances to potentially have success, but it doesn't guarantee a win. They still have to go out there and win and play. Like, they're not just going to be paper champions. So I don't have a major issue with it.
You mentioned Steve Ballmer having deep pockets.
Oh, don't bring that back in my mind.
I hear he's very hands-on with the finances.
What was that dude thinking? That is the weirdest celebration he just immediately, it was like something cool happened. I'm going to grab their thighs and shake them.
For those of you who don't know, look up Steve Ballmer.
Don't look it up.
It's hilarious. He essentially grabs two people next to him, which I'm guessing he knows, probably some of his assistants, but he grabs their thighs and starts rubbing them up and down. It is the most frightening sports gif I've seen in years. This old Monopoly man throwing these guys' thighs up and down. Very weird. Not quite as weird as what we've seen in the basketball, I guess, practices, exhibition matches for Team USA. Oh man. So first they lost against Nigeria, who, don't get me wrong, Nigeria's got some good players in their team. The Miami Heat are well represented with Team Nigeria. But then they come back a couple days later and lose to Australia. Again, another team with Patty Mills, some other really good players on it, but this is Team USA. Is this more indicative of how far Team USA has fallen, or is this more indicative of how much better like international basketball is now?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think something to call out. We are missing a couple of players here, right? We don't have Devin Booker. Right. We don't have Chris Middleton, right? Because they're both playing in the finals right now.
Correct.
Yep. So they are missing like two key cogs if we want to be fair. Bruh, you blew out Nigeria.
I mean, we want to be fair. Can you imagine if the 92 team or the 2012 team, or was it 2012? Or what team lost? Can you imagine any of those teams lost 2 games back to back?
Was it 08?
Well, I think 08 was the one that lost. Yeah. No, I think 04 didn't lose. I don't think 04 lost. I thought it was 2012 for a minute.
Maybe 2012 or 08, one of them, yeah.
There should not be a USA basketball team that loses back-to-back matches, period.
Yeah. I mean, I will give them, again, benefit of the doubt. You don't have Book. You don't have Middleton. That's some great shooting there. You're not getting a ton of defense, but you're getting, again, 2 electric shooters who can score across the floor. So, yeah. But you blew out Nigeria, I think, last cycle by 40 plus points or something insane, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Australia, I get it. They've gotten a lot better, but I think if we're being fair here, there is more parity across global basketball than ever before. There are also some rule changes when you're playing from like the NBA to what you can get away with to, playing international basketball, especially when you're talking about the Olympic-based sport. There's a video going around of Zach LaVine, for example, just talking about like how he essentially comes out of his triple threat, right? Like his pivot foot transition, like how quickly he has to dribble versus what he can essentially get away from. And there is a difference, right? But I think you have a lot of younger players, a lot of unproven players. You have a coach in Popovich who's used to working with players that are just sort of like well-rounded basketball players. I think there's some holes here. The corpse of Kevin Love, I love Kevin Love, but the corpse of Kevin Love was in the team. That just feels like a really weird, strange decision. I don't love the makeup of the roster, but part of me also sitting here saying like, there's a lot of talent that we could have had that we did not hear from for whatever reason. I can't put it all on these guys. I think it's a mixture of younger talent, better parity across the entire globe for basketball in terms of how good they are, and some major players just deciding to not enter their hat for this.
The Olympics aren't as important to the USA as they are to everybody else.
True.
When it comes to basketball. Now, I'm not saying other sports, but I'm actually starting to believe that other sports don't take it as serious for Team USA either. But when it comes to basketball, it's very obvious that Team USA basketball is not as important as these guys' contracts in the NBA. And that's why you're seeing players. I watched that Australia game. They were walking in that game. Like they were walking through that game. It did not feel like they were playing. And again, it's an exhibition. I fully get that. Okay. I fully understand that when you can turn the switch on, hopefully when the Olympics starts. But as it stands for that, again, I'm only going to speak to the Australia game. I only saw highlights of the Nigeria game. But that Australia game, I saw tons of players just watching guys run by them. They were casually taking their shots. It looked like preseason NBA for all superstars. And then I saw Australia out there grinding. Patty Mills throwing his body around the court. I'm a Patty Mills fan. I'm sorry. It's just like my thing from the Spurs days. It's just not as important anymore, and it shows on the court. And it sucks because the Olympics are big for a lot of the people in this country. We have major sports, but when it comes to the Olympics, that feels special to a lot of people. Okay? And the NBA, say what you want, the NBA can gain fans from this. And to watch Team USA just kind of be like, okay, we'll worry about that later. Not a big deal. We'll just turn the switch on until we can't turn the switch on anymore. And I don't blame guys like Kevin Durant. You're right. I don't. Those guys are there. I blame guys that aren't there. I blame guys that have decided that the Olympics aren't as important. I kind of blame the NBA for knowingly scheduling, knowing the NBA finals was going to come into this Olympic Games.
Well, I think to be fair, though, the NBA cut I think a month or 2 months off the season.
Of the first half. Yeah, of the first half.
But 10 games were just essentially removed, like overall.
Right.
Like, so I think there is something that, as I think about it, of players probably just being gassed and being like, bro, I can't really do this, and then risking the injury on top of it. We all remember, I think this is also something playing into it. We all remember not too long ago, Paul George, the terrible injury that he suffered. And I think that probably plays in a player's mind as they've played a condensed schedule, significant amount of games. They're beyond tired. And then it's like, do I really want to go play in the Olympics to just potentially
LeBron
risk
James
injury?
right again. LeBron James right again, right?
I mean, he's the GOAT for a reason. But like looking at this roster, right? Bam Adebayo, obviously known for having, great interior defense. Mm-hmm. Bradley Beal, you're not really
who just went into COVID, by the way. Just went into COVID protocol today.
Well, Godspeed on that, but not a great defender. Book, I love him. One of the most gifted offensive players in the league. You're not putting him out there for his defense. Kevin Durant can play defense if it's the NBA Finals, but I don't think Kevin Durant needs to, nor should he have to play extreme defense because he's Kevin Durant. He's earned the right to have someone else put that high pressure on. Jeremy Grant, great defender. I'm here for that. Draymond Green can play defense at this age. There's some questions still, I think, about him, but when he's motivated, yes. Drew Holiday's not there because of the finals. Zach LaVine has come around a little bit on defense in the Olympics, but not a great one. Damian Lillard, not known for defense. Kevin Love, find better defense at your local YMCA.
Kevin Love's claim to fame is a TikTok where he is yelling at Pop to run suicides, which was hilarious. Don't get me wrong, but Kevin Love right there is doing what Kevin Love should be doing right now, and that's coaching, not playing.
100%. And I love Kevin Love, but yeah. And then Middleton, obviously not there. And then Tatum should not be having to play defense. There are certain players that earn the right to not have to play defense. I think Tatum is one of the young dudes that is there. He can still play some, but he shouldn't have to play a ton.
Right.
There's really no one on this team that you're like, I mean, Grant's probably their best on-ball defender.
Without question, by the way.
Their best low-post defender. There's not a lot of defense elsewhere. And what all these other teams are playing both sides of the ball. So you're having to rely on, the USA always relies on incredible offense to mask for the holes on defense and wearing dudes out. I don't know if this roster necessarily has that with the guys that are on the court right now.
And you know what's interesting is that I always, and this is not a slight against Pop because we stand for Pop here. I'm in the temple of Pop. But whenever Krzyzewski was the coach, it felt like while he did have fantastic offense to match up, and again, this is a different genre, this is a different generation. They didn't play against real teams internationally, but it did feel like Krzyzewski made choices on his team to fill that defensive holes. There were players in those teams that were not fantastic offensive players that were there to protect those offensive players. It makes me question whether, well, let's be fair. Pop has a very specific pool he can choose from of players that want to be there. As evidenced by Jeremy Grant being there. I'm sorry, but Jeremy Grant is not an Olympic player. Like, that's not what you want to, that's not the guy. He's probably third or fourth down the tier list in terms of guys I want to invite, no matter how good he is defensively. But but there are players like you just don't see there anymore. And again, that goes back to, is this a problem with player selection from the coaching and the management staff that are going to the Olympics, or is this a problem with where I think it is that player pool is just not as deep as it used to be.
Yeah.
LeBron's too busy worrying about Space Jam too than he is. I mean, obviously, he's nursing
LeBron
injuries.
has played more games than any other player over the past decade.
I agree.
LeBron deserves. If there's any player deserves a pass, it's LeBron James. Okay, give that. And he's coming off the lower leg injury. There was once LeBron got injured, I was like, there's no chance he's going to play in the Olympics.
The nursing injuries, I get that, but like, I want to see those superstars in the Olympics, and I'm just not seeing them. And maybe you're right. Maybe a lot of those injuries came from the regular season. The guys are really scared to not have that off season to come back because they're getting ready to come into a full NBA season again,
100%.
which is something they haven't experienced after having this condensed season.
Yeah.
That's what the Olympics used to be. It used to be the dream team or like, the Kobe team. It just doesn't feel like that anymore. And yes, Durant's there, but outside of Durant and Dame, is there anybody on that team where you just go, superstar, man, like this is fun to watch? Tatum? I mean, Tatum at this point.
Well, Lillard. I think Lillard's a superstar.
Dame and Kevin Durant are the two that I think of that I would put. Let's put it this way. And again, different generations. Outside of Durant and Dame Lillard, is there anybody on this roster that you would consider on either the Dream Team and their generation or the 2012 team?
Booker, but he's not playing right now.
Booker's not playing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Booker's out. There's no one active on the court right now. There's like no Anthony Davis, again, nursing injury. I mean, there's those guys aren't there. And it felt like it was a lot. And you know what? Some of those guys are playing for other teams right now.
Yeah.
So because of how big international ball is.
Yeah.
So
I will say two things. One, we also stand Coach K in this podcast.
We do. I listen. I'm a Terps fan. I respect the hell out of Coach K. I'll be glad to don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Oh, this guy. And then the other thing is Jeremy Grant. I had to double check. Jeremy Grant did have a heck of a season this year, so I think he deserved with this player pool an opportunity to play. Obviously, if we were at the optimum player pool, probably
with
not.
This
maybe
player
he's an
pool.
alternate.
Okay, that's so
I do think he could have been an alternate if we had a typical player pool, just because he would have been one of the best defenders, and he averaged 20 plus points a game this season. Granted, he played in NBA Siberia in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I still think Grant is one of those guys that like. It's not just about like him playing, like what he's going to bring defensively, but what this could do for him in his career, and then what he could be playing as 4 years from now when he's in his early 30s. I think it could bode well for a Team USA to let a guy like him have experience, because he's going to be one of the more selfless players. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't have high expectations, but I think the USA could be looking at like I don't think it's a gold year. Like I really wonder if they're going to be able to turn it around and get gold. I don't know.
Not if they play like they did against Australia. No. And again, this might be a case of them just having to flip the switch when the Olympics starts, but that's a pretty big switch to flip after losing to, again, Australia. I can kind of understand. That Nigerian team should have went into the darkness of the night.
Well, he beat Argentina though.
Yeah, but I mean, this is, again, I understand beating Argentina. Okay,
got inspired by J. Cole. J. Cole inspired him.
Are you serious right now?
Possibly.
The hell out of here. The hell out of here. We wrap this train wreck up, please.
Wait, last question.
Sure.
NBA Finals. We are recording at the time where it's 2-1 right now. Phoenix up 2-1. They're going game 4 in Milwaukee. Then it goes back to Phoenix. What's your prediction?
I think the Suns end up winning in 6. I think Giannis gets another match out. No matter of fact, they've just started as we're recording. I think Giannis gets another win somewhere along the line because it's not Giannis, it's Chris Middleton. It's Chris Middleton. They win and lose on Chris Middleton. I think Chris Middleton has another baller game at some point, but I think he also has 2 duds, and that's where the Suns win those matches.
Okay. I'm going game 7. I'm saying 7. I'm saying Suns in 7. I'm saying the Bucks win game 4 because Kareem's in the house tonight. And I think Giannis is playing unbelievable. Hashtag put Giannis at center. He could be one of the greatest centers of all time if you just let him play there and run pick and roll nonstop with him. Yeah, I'm going Milwaukee wins tonight, ties it up. And then Phoenix ends up going 2-1 the back half of the series and wraps it up. But I'm saying 7 games for Suns now.
Yeah, and this is kind of crazy thinking about we weren't even sure if Giannis was going to play in the finals with that knee, just to see how the level he is playing at right now is insane.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch though. You see Giannis, you can definitely see Giannis. It means a lot to Giannis and Chris Paul. You can see them really putting a lot on the line for this finals, having never seen one, much less won one. So
100%. Yeah. Again, if you aren't watching the finals, make sure you watch that. It's been incredible. Giannis is putting up historic numbers. You've got, the NBA darling in Giannis. You've got the former NBA darling, now the NBA veteran that's just trying to get that finals, full victory in Chris Paul. Regardless, you're going to have a great ambassador or ambassadors on either side. So I'm pulling for Phoenix. So real talk. Mills, great episode. That beard is coming along a little bit. It's I give you like another 6 years and it'll be kind of back to what it was. But
6 years, Jesus.
Wait, we had one new 5-star review.
Oh, did we?
I wanted to read this one.
It's got to say Mills, right? It's all about how good I am.
We got a 5-star review. This one is from OG, and it says Mills, kiss my. So that's what it says.
I'm sorry, what?
It's from OG, and it says Mills, kiss my.
OG? That's all it is? It's just OG? That's what they put up?
OG.
If that's constant, I'm going to find him.
No, no. Think a different OG.
OG? That was Scott? Who's OG? I don't know who OG is.
That was a great episode.
That's all you get, OG.
Leave 5-star review if you haven't already, and cuss Mills out in it.
You guys leave 5-star reviews and you insult me. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you and your family. I will find you. The only 5-star reviews are the ones where you make fun of GGB's face. Lack of hair on it.
Make fun of Mills being 5'4". Give us a 5-star review if you haven't already. Make sure you say nice things about me, terrible things about Mills. Every Thursday, the Overplayed podcast in your ear. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys in the next one.
Ciao.